Hello everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Unearth Horticulture. Today I have with me a special guest. This is Dalton.
Hello, hello.
We went to school together at K-State, and you work now at
Robinson Nursery in Oregon.
So you are a little bit of a tree expert.
Yes, I would like to say.
You're becoming a tree expert.
Very much so.
And so you're visiting here in Kansas, and I thought it would be appropriate for this episode to do a little bit of a tree feature because we are both horticulture nuts, particularly tree nuts. And so if you want to see some horticulturists nerd out on some trees, then this episode is for you. We are standing in front of one of my favorite Kansas trees on the property here. This is an elm tree, and we call it endearingly the corner tree or the canopy tree. And you can't see it very well from this angle, but you'll see it from all angles throughout this video. But all of the branches are coming, and they're not over the road. They're all coming over the pasture, the corner section at this half-mile section. And every summer, the cattle like to lay under here, and it's just this kind of oasis in the prairie for the cattle to get some shade. And so this tree has purpose. It has really cool form, and we're going to talk about the form and some of the history of the tree. So let's take a look.
So, as you can see here, starting in this little crack, this little U, if you look at the bark and follow it down the side of the stem, you can see that there's this light color, and it goes all the way down the bottom, down to the ground. Now, this is actually characteristic of elm trees. What this is water damage. As you can see up here in this crack, there's an old branch that died, and the tree is trying to heal itself. And so when water piles up there in that dead spot, it starts leaking down the side, and when it leaks, it creates this light water pattern, water stain, if you will, that goes all the way down the side of the tree. So it's very characteristic of wounds to have like this oozing water stain to come out of it, especially on elm trees.
So we are at the taper of the tree. That's what we call this base here, where the tree starts putting its roots into the ground, and it's where it bears a lot of the weight of all that Kansas wind, and it's a structural thing for the tree. And you can see here it's looking real gnarly. And even the surveyors left a nice nail in the tree. Never put nails in trees, people. It's not good for trees. Anyways, when someone from the farm was actually coming through here with the bush hog and mowing the ditches, one year they nicked this tree, and it created this wounding pattern on the tree that just left this really exposed area. And you can see here where it started to try to heal over and have a wound response, but it never can fully heal because it was nicked at that point in time.
Yeah, it's so big. The inside here is all the dead wood from a long time ago, and all of this weird curvy stuff is the live wood trying to wrap itself around the wound. But the wound is so big that the tree's never going to fully close it over and heal.
So obviously, with this being at the taper of the tree trunk, it makes it a little bit more weak and a little bit more hazardous. But I mean, you just saw Dalton up there standing in the tree
and jumping around.
So it's still really solid. And so here's another nerding out fact about trees, is that they're really good at wound response and about dealing with harsh environments, especially Kansas trees. That's what's so cool about them. They're resilient things.
Yeah.
And not only are they resilient, they show all of their wounds and their scars, and you can literally see what happened at any given point in a tree's life by looking at like the tree rings and looking at the physical growth of the tree. It's pretty cool. You can tell a whole history just by looking at it. And for me, on this land in particular, in the Lathrop pasture. My family has owned this for multiple generations, and my great grandpa actually put in these fence posts, these Osage orange fence posts, back when they got the land. And these trees, I can imagine them being here at a time when I wasn't here, but when my ancestors were here. So I always think trees they've seen it all.
They have history.
Yeah. Okay, Dalton, while you're up in that tree, tell us something good.
It's starting to flower. It's got these little teeny tiny flowers.
So it probably means allergy season's on the way. We're already here.
Yep. As always.
So what do you like about trees the most?
They're just so fascinating to me how, like, this tree obviously has been here for a long time. And you see it comes out of the ground right over there. But then, like 30 feet that way, there's a live branch growing. Just, I don't know. They're just so fascinating to me.
Yeah, their structure and their strength is really cool.
Yeah, like I'm up here bouncing around and it's like as sturdy as can be.
Solid.
Not that I am gonna make this tree move, but it's so wild. While I'm up in this tree, I want to point out some branch structure. This tree is so old and, Kansas wind whipped that the branches just grow in crazy cool directions. So I'm up here in this tree. This tree comes out of the ground right down there, and I'm about like 10-15 feet up in the tree. And we get to this point right here where it just starts branching out in all different directions. And each branch takes itself to someplace new and different. For instance, like if we follow this branch, it branches out here and then it curves up and does this really cool spiral. It's so interesting how curved it is. And then it also splits out and it goes this way, and it's got all these branches out going in all different directions, and then there's that one that swoops out down below. It's just so interesting, all the different paths that each branch take. So here we're under the canopy of the tree, and it comes all the way down here to the ground. And then once it hits here, where does it go? There's gotta be a bunch of roots around. And so as we're searching for roots, here we have one right here.
So this root makes me think of something really important, that trees actually are like the only thing that can do this way. They help prevent erosion issues. And oftentimes we kind of grumble about roadside trees and them getting in the way of our vehicles. Believe me, the plant bus has had its fair share of of tree branch scratches. But the important part about roadside trees is the fact that they keep our roads really nice and keep erosion from occurring, keep the soil from moving as much in places. And this just shows you an example of a surface root that is serving a little bit of a purpose. So next time you're a little peeved about the roadside trees, think a little bit about what purpose they're serving to you. These are our shirts from NCLC. What does that stand for, Dalton?
Stands for the National Collegiate Landscape Competition.
Not a mouthful at all.
We were part of the Kansas State University landscape contracting team going to this competition, and
it was the best ever of all time. And we met a lot of people from across the country. There's a career fair. There's like 28 events that you can compete in, like tree climbing and truck and trailer and plant identification. Your event was what?
I competed in woody plant identification.
Yeah.
And I remember there being like 93 people in this competition. Like
in that event.
Just that event specifically. So
yeah.
this a huge competition nationwide held at a specific university each year. And these are
our team shirts. And Willie is really awesome. Willie is holding a shovel.
Yeah.
And
he's digging up a smiley
tulip,
face button.
Obviously. So I've had a lot of you ask about these shirts before. I've been wearing them, and I wear them all the time because I have a lot of fond memories of this event at school, and it's where Dalton and I first really started hanging out and being friends. So anyways, we got our matching gear now.
Yep.
Oh, so official. Okay, so we're standing on the roadside here. Welcome to the ditch. And as you can see, there's been a little bit of a pruning job done here. I just wanted to briefly stop by and show you this because I wanted to show you what not to do, what's less than ideal, and I wanted to tell you why it's less than ideal.
Yeah, so these trees here, they were trimmed up because they're next to a roadway. That way they don't grow into the roadway. So the township had some people come out and trim these trees, but instead of just like pruning them back and pruning some branches away from the roadway,
Selecting some branches.
exactly, the entire side here has been shredded.
Just shredded up like 10, 11 feet. And there's a few reasons why this is bad. First of all, the obvious one, it's very unattractive for property owners that are out here living in the country. Second of all, they filled our ditches with mulch, basically, and it wasn't cleaned up. The debris wasn't cleaned up. So what it's going to do is it's going to clog the traditional waterways, the ditches, where water would normally run off the roads, off the sloped roads and into the ditches and run away into our culverts and our waterway systems. So instead, that water is going to pool up on the road. So that's definitely less than ideal. That's a long-term issue that's going to be faced. Another long-term issue is the health of the trees now on the roadside. So it almost would have been better just to remove the whole tree altogether, all the trees, because now what we have is some weakened trees, some trees that have wounds up the side, some really huge ghastly wounds. And we just talked about the elm tree. It had that big wound from the bush hog mower going by it. That was from one nick. Imagine what all of this is going to do to these trees. It's really going to weaken them and cause them to be a little bit more hazardous over time.
Mm-hmm. And the tree that we just saw down the road, the elm tree, Renata actually saved that tree from being completely shredded like these ones. She saved a couple of roadway trees that is really dear to her heart.
Yeah, because we just talked about how much trees can mean, and they're older than we are oftentimes, and so I think that earns a little respect. I just sounded like a major tree hugger. Kind of am a little bit now.
Aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We're definitely tree huggers. But the point is to say is that if something matters to you, you should, fight for that. And I went and maintained those trees. I took a manual saw, a pull saw, and me and my neighbor, we went and took some branches off that the farmers had been complaining about getting into their implements. And we spent a couple hours at 3 trees. And I know that there's some neighborhood volunteers that probably would have liked to come and help and remove trees that were necessary to remove, or tree branches. So oftentimes if you ask for help or you ask for another solution or look for another solution, it's probably going to be there.
Yeah, this is not the best way to deal with trees.
No, probably not.
No.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks, that's what we have for you today. I'm Renata Gosen.
I'm Dalton Dunn.
And you've been watching Unearth Horticulture.
Ooh, look at this little baby eastern red cedar. It's got that winter color in it. Look at that bluish red color.
These are invasive! Kill them all! Are you posing with the cow pie, Dalton?
Look what I found.
Is that part of a tree? A different type of organic matter. So what do you like about trees the most? It's a very big question.
The way that they are.
Oh, look at this tree bark! Okay.
Hot take, we're angry.
Wait, my turn. I get to do one. Okay. Now my hat's all messed up. Okay. All right. Get in here. Mm-mm. What? Okay, now the camera's already rolling, so. This whole time. Blooper reel. Okay. Alrighty, folks, that's what we have for you today. I'm Renata Gosen.
I'm Dalton Dunn.
And you've been watching Unearth Horticulture.